So welcome, Tash, on a lovely sunny day today. What do you love about baby watching?
As a parent, and I've done it twice. I did it with Juno, my first, and with Sasha. I really loved having that time carved out once a week to go somewhere to go, feeling like I was giving over my time to something useful, beyond myself, for a group of children. I found it quite hard. Took me a while to realise this, but I found it quite hard not to be working during both maternity leaves. There was, parts of me loved not working, and parts of my psyche really missed the work or felt that absence. And I found that going to baby watching once a week helped me plug back into the part of myself that, love to be around children, love to feel useful, just hearing the conversations. I really, really love the experience. And I'd say also being in that, carving out that time, and then just being for however, they're not long sessions, but just not having to do anything else, think about anything else, phones away. It's just, we've got a group of children around us, but it's just me and baby, really, and just being. And then through the conversations and through thinking about, what are they noticing, picking up on things I wouldn't normally pick up on a day-to-day when I'm, making breakfast, running around, doing just that quiet space once a week. I found it both times. I've just really loved having that.
I love how you described that, and that sounds ironically quite intimate, even though you've got quite a lot of people sometimes watching.
Yes, yeah, I think it does. I think that's a good word. I wouldn't have thought of it, but actually I think it does feel intimate, because it's the intimacy with, me and the baby, but there is an intimacy in the room because of all the, little souls of all the people in the room joining in the intimacy. It doesn't take the intimacy away. It's still there, but it feels very special to share. It feels really special to share the relationship with my baby.
That's so beautifully described, and I think a lot of people talk to me about how safe the space feels, and I often say that children become co-creators of the safe space for mummy and baby.
For me to be able to see me and my baby through their eyes and hear it through, it kind of amplifies that one-to-one, that special time. So I think there is this kind of a magic that's hard to describe about it.
I think you're so right. And did that, as a parent, to get that sort of feedback, what was that like?
It feels really amazing to have someone else notice as well. So I think to hear the conversations of noticing the smallest things, look how his lip trembled when that happened, or look how he placed his palm on mummy's wrist. You don't really hear people talking like that about you and your baby, so it's something very special. It really is. Just sharing a funny moment. We talk about like the children really noticing what's going on, and with Sasha and the last group I was in, at one point he got quite, because I did two groups back to back, and it would be that sometimes one group he was really happy and inquisitive, and by the second group, because of the time of the day, he was quite tired and he'd often get cranky, so they started swapping the groups around. But on one of the key moments, he was sort of starting to complain a bit, and I was trying to distract him and do this and do that. I'm thinking, oh no, are we going to last the last 5 minutes? And one of the children said, maybe he's hungry. And I took it in, and I think he is hungry. I haven't fed him for, however long. And it was amazing to think, oh, bless her. She thought about it. She'd noticed. She thought, what does baby need? Beyond what I had in the moment. So it was a really amazing moment. Mm-hmm. And for me to be able to say, I think you're right. Yeah, he is hungry. There were difficulties as well. Sometimes I noticed, like in both groups, I noticed at least one child that seemed to really shrink into themselves, and I thought, I don't think they're enjoying this. But what was really helpful was to have that sort of 10 minutes after each session with the team leader to be able to say that, or say, you know, and then they noticed it as well, and then they'd say, oh, I might speak to the teacher about him, or, you know, and it was nice to have that processing time.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're absolutely right. It's worth naming that you know, it can be difficult for some children, and the way that they react, you know, tells us something about their needs. And sometimes those silent children in the class who might not be noticed, they get noticed in baby watching.
Yeah. Well, I found that I'm thinking of a child in the first group when Juno was a baby, and there was a quite quiet child, and for whatever reason, Juno started week after week sort of being drawn to them, you know, with eye contact, and then when she was moving, she'd sort of go to, and that was fascinating to watch, because the child couldn't help but be interested and be drawn in, and I think enjoyed having that bit of focus, you know, on them. They sort of got chosen by the baby who was interested in them, and and you could feel, you know, the adults in the room sort of, oh, yeah, it felt like a real opportunity, something special. And that was something that the child spoke to the team leader about afterwards. So, it's really amazing what comes up. And something you said as well felt important about validating a child. You know, there were times when Sasha was crying and the team leader would ask how people felt, and some children were able to say, I really don't like it, and just to be able to say that and not get told off because it's a baby, and you know, but to just be able to say that doesn't, you know, I don't like that, and delve a little bit deeper in a safe way. That felt important.
Right, but I think there's something really wonderful about that. It's so refreshing that they're allowed to have all their feelings. And you talked about validation. I think you're absolutely right. These feelings aren't wrong or naughty. These feelings are normal. And we now have a language, you know, that we can use to name them. And that actually is a relief. So, Tash, you were saying, you were telling me a really interesting story about your husband.
And at that time, it was a small group, and my husband's mixed race, so he's got darker skin than me, and there were quite a few children with darker skin in the group, and there was almost a bit of an audible gasp when he came in, and everyone was really, really interested. You know, you could feel the energy kind of picked up as someone new. And after the group, the group leader told me that after that session, one of the boys had said, Juno's dad, he's like me, and he was sort of amazed and a bit bemused and excited about it, because it wasn't the dad that he was expecting to see. So that was quite interesting. And then I thought it was a great thing to do. So with Sasha, we did the same thing. And I went, and then there was a second time when I couldn't go, so I didn't want to cancel, so Richard took Sasha, so he had to, and that was a bigger group and more boys in that group because it was a bigger group. And just something to mention about that, I really felt the boys' interest sort of get turned the dial when it was Richard, sort of energy up, attention. There was just some fascination with seeing a dad with the baby, and Richard brought a different energy. You know, I think I probably had a bit of a quieter energy, a bit calmer, whereas Richard, he's musical, he's quite noisy, he's quite so he just brought a very different energy, and I just think that was interesting for the children to see. You know, this other, I didn't know that was at home. You know, you had that at home with me. So it was really worth doing, I think, both times for the children to see that, and to see a man with the baby, and a lot, you know, he's so tactile, and his at the end of the group with Juno, I felt really sad about it ending, and I asked the team leader. You know, I said, I think the children might you know, be really sad about this group ending. And I said, I don't know if this would be allowed, but how about we have a photo of all of us with the baby and the children, and then you could maybe print it and give all the children a copy, or if that's allowed, you know. And he put it to the kids, and they all really wanted it. So we all went home with our group, which I have, and I'm glad if the children were happy, I'm glad, but it was definitely for me as well, because I felt so attached in the end.
And thank you for being such a wonderful parent volunteer. We are so privileged, so super grateful. Thank you so much, Tash, and lovely to talk to you.